On this week's episode, we're going to be making one of your subscriber ideas a reality. Before we dive into what we're gonna make, I wanna go over some of your other ideas that we're not gonna make and kind of why we're not doing those. First up, the snorkel. So you can see the air box is right here, and that makes you wanna go right through here for a snorkel, and then up here. But in reality, underneath this is a large structural beam that holds a strut tower. So we don't wanna go cutting into that, and there's no real space otherwise. On top of that, if you had a 6-cylinder car, the airbox would be on that side. So it wouldn't fit both vehicles, and I'm not okay with drilling a huge hole in something that supports the strut tower like this. So that kind of rules out a snorkel. So a lot of you wanted a bigger lift. We have the 1.5" lift on here, and that's kind of the limit of the inner CV here. We don't want this to bind up, that'll break stuff. So we're kind of stuck with this as is, unless we were to drop the subframe and the transfer case, and that'll make the steering linkage a little different, and then the radiator hose are gonna be a different spot. So it's a real can of worms to get just a little bit more height out of the vehicle and no real increase in ground clearance, because we can't get any more clearance with the subframe like this. So a taller lift really isn't feasible. You're not gaining much performance, or hardly any really, and you're adding a lot of difficulty. And finally, bumpers. We're not gonna be making bumpers for a couple different reasons, but it's not because I didn't try. I actually made a couple prototypes, they're up there. Didn't really like the way they came out. So the styling's a little difficult to get quite right, and that's fine. I think we could overcome that. The fact that there's such a big and large bumper makes them very expensive, not only to produce, but to ship as well. So that combined with some of the other struggles just made it a little too difficult for the price point of the E53. Now, something that someone's gonna spend a bit more money on, that'd probably be worth pursuing. But in this case, it's just not worth it. So what we're gonna make is some rock sliders. This is the factory plastic rocker here. And as you can see, I've already given it a bit of a kerpowie here. This is in some of our earlier testing. So I wanna replace this piece with something metal, a lot more rugged. It's probably gonna be a couple different layers to get all the brackets to work out, but we're gonna try to tackle this and get some more strength and something we can bounce off rocks here. So this is the data I have for what we're gonna be making the rock sliders from. So this is the X5, this is the factory plastic skirt, this is the door bottoms. It's not much to show, but it's there so I know what's going on. So what I came up with, because you can see behind here, there's a bunch of these threaded holes for plastic reinforcement. So we're gonna try to use those to make a bracket, which looks like this. So this will reinforce that area, be an aluminum piece, so it's not adding a ton of weight, but a bunch of strength with this bend here. And then there's gonna be a bunch of tabs to hold an outer steel piece, which looks like this. So that'll be the actual slider. It's much thinner, but it is steel, because steel won't gouge like aluminum will. So it'll actually slide over rocks and stuff, but not be a ton of weight because we have the reinforcement behind it. So hopefully that fits. All right, so the rock sliders are here. We've got these nice pretty pieces that I've QI'd. Everything looks great. We've got, the 3/16 aluminum piece, that's the reinforcement for the body. And then we've got the skin, which is 1/8" steel. So combined, we have a nice slippery surface for rocks, and we have a lot of rigidity to put into that rocker surface. So all we have to do is pull this factory plastic stuff off and then install a couple rib nuts. And then sneak out. So it's just those bottom clips and then these here, which go into this rail. So you gotta like kind of pick it up and over, and then that's how it unclips.
Not too bad.
Not too bad. Then we gotta just pull these. This is how the trim mounts to this factory plastic piece here. So we're leaving the trim because it's the whole arch and I like the way the trim looks, but everything else is going behind it. So once we unclip the trim, take these bolts out and pull this reinforcement out. Lift is in the way. Give me that thing. Yeah, that guy. Gracias. I need to poke it all the way through. There we go. The lift arm, perfectly in the way.
Yeah. Maybe we should have done this on the ground.
Shouldn't be in the way after that. But okay. Then a bunch of 13s. Okay, that should be everything. I can sneak this out. Yeah. So, plastic gone. Next up, I think we just have to do a bunch of riv nuts, and I'm gonna clean this because it's yucky. Just give it a wipe so we're not smushing dirt between everything. Not like clean, just cleaner. Yuck. I'm doing this just to mark which holes I want to use, or I have to put riv nuts in on the bottom. So then I can just come in with a Sharpie and mark next to those, because there's a million little holes. Ow! Nice. So, you can either count how many steps you have left with a step bit, or you can put a Sharpie mark on them, which is also kind of nice. So, I'm gonna do that. So I knew I had 3 steps left, but now I go until I see Sharpie.
Nice.
Yeah, and I'm gonna put a glove on because all the spicy chips keep landing in my hand holding the drill. That spot appears to be a little rusty. I'm gonna ignore that. Same ignoring. Yuck. 2 more. Here's the one that's probably gonna go in crooked because I'm up against the lift. Not the most convenient placement. So the last thing we have to do before putting on that inner brace is drill out a couple of these holes. So the riv nuts on those brackets align with each one of these holes, but you can see some of them have another piece of sheet metal behind them, and they're all not in the exact same spot. But it's a nice pilot to just come through, open up just a little bit, get that second layer of sheet metal out, and then everything will fit nice. Wow, the bitter end of the battery. Goes behind. Nice. It fits good now. Right up against the body. It's down there now. Nice. This looks awesome. Okay. So there's all these brackets that'll hold on the outer skin. There are lefts and rights, and it's really just because of this position here. So it fits here, but with this bracket to hold the plastic, the one bent forward doesn't fit. So all of them have to be bent backwards. So the rest of them don't really matter. They're all symmetrical, but make your life a little easier and figure it out before you bolt the rest on. So it's day 2 because I had to wait for longer bolts because what I spec'd for the rock slider was too short. So now we can continue doing the install. I did hang it up there as you saw and like loosely held it up with the too short of a bolt. So just gotta swap a couple out, bolt this up, and move on to the other side. Yeah. Close. I wanted a little bit better on that gap. The front one's way off, the rear one's like, meh. So that's an easy change realistically. Everything else fits, so all the hole locations, all that stuff is a much bigger deal. So knowing that all that's good, I'm pretty happy with it overall. Slight tweak up front, a little bit of an adjustment here. What's this do? Door still works. Bottom's nice, the top, it's close. Not bad. Not bad. So, rock slider install went well. Everything's on. We do have a little bit of a gap here. I'd like to make that change for production. I can pull this in just a little bit, but overall, it fits with the vehicle really well. It's very rugged, and the only thing left is to go test it. So that wraps up the rock sliders. I'm pretty happy with them overall. There's this little gap to deal with, but that'll be an easy fix for production. But overall, they fit the look of the vehicle. They work really well. It's a nice, smooth surface. So now if you go to hit something like that, it won't snag the car. And it really opens up your ability to expand your driving style and not have to worry about damaging the car. So this is awesome. Pretty psyched about this. So make sure you like and subscribe and follow along.